Well, this is half of our basement. We're about 80% finished with remodeling it. It took several months because we could only work weekends and nights and stuff like that. And I made a list of things that I thought were important and things we learned as we went along. First is, if you remember the stuff I did before, this used to be my workshop. It was unfinished. They were concrete walls, concrete floor, and we have a steel I-beam running down the middle. So that's the size we wanted. So we measured everything up. I drew it in AutoCAD. We also measured the height. Our ceilings are only 7 foot at one end, and we have a drain in the middle, and it was 7'2". So we drew it up in AutoCAD. I drew it up in SketchUp as well to get an idea of what it would look like. And we decided on doing walls that are 2x4s. So we're actually losing some space, but we thought that would be a lot easier. We've seen some plans where they nail the foam up to the walls and put small strips of wood. But we built 2x4 walls, 16 inches on center. We probably could have got away with 24 inches on center since they're not load bearing. If I did it again, we'd probably do 24 inches on center. We painted the ceiling black. We looked at all different designs, and we actually really liked it. It gives it, it looks a lot taller than it is. If we just did a drop ceiling, it would have looked very small. And we did can lights. So the first thing I did is I came up with a cost opinion. I tried to think of everything we needed, and I put it in a spreadsheet. I went to Lowe's and looked up the price of everything. And I'll include that in case you want to do this. I'll include the spreadsheet of what all the costs were and what we came up with. Then I used the 10% off coupon that you can get at the post office. So we got 10% off that. And we probably spent another $200 on extras and everything else. As far as laying it out, we snapped a chalk line 4 inches off. This was the first wall we started with. I snapped a chalk line 4 inches off that wall. The 2x4 is 3.5, 4 inches gave us a ½ inch clearance. We built the walls, and we used a framing nailer, and you almost certainly need a framing nailer if you're going to do this. You can't just pound it in because you need an air compressor and a framing nailer and a miter saw. It made it a lot easier. We used, to attach the walls to the floor, we used liquid nails, which you'll have to use, and we used those Tapcon screws where you had a hammer drill, and we used those Tapcon screws. I wouldn't recommend it if you're doing a whole area. If it's a small thing, it's fine, but I would recommend going out and buying one of those ram set nailers. Now they have the guns, or they have the stick where you hit it with a hammer. That's only $20, and it would have been a lot easier. It would have gone a lot quicker. I wouldn't recommend having the drill and use the Tapcon. It just was a big pain in the butt. And it's not much more expensive to get one of those ram sets and the little nails. We framed around the water meter, and we had a pipe coming down from our toilet. We framed around that too. And we put a little shelf in the corner where we framed out around it, so it wasn't completely wasted space. We put 2 doors, one to get into our furnace back there, and we did another door here to get into our laundry. That's a narrow door. I think that was 24 inches wide. This one's as wide as we could get. This one is like 36. Just so if we ever had to get a laundry tub or anything out, that's as big. And the doors were like $70. They came with the frame. We had to buy the handles, but that was all in the cost opinion. But also when you're setting the doors, we bought these little metal alignment shims. You nail them to the frame, and it's better than using the wood because you draw a line and you just have to align it. So I recommend getting those little metal brackets. We did glass block windows at the far end, and we used to have these cheap thin glass windows that were supposed to hinge out. They never moved, so I knocked those out and put in glass block windows. Reese. And our openings weren't big enough. Sometimes you can buy that whole kit. It's a complete window. We had to buy the blocks individually, and I think they're 6 inches or 8 inches. So I went with, a 6, 8, a 6, and an 8, and that gave us our space with a ½ inch below and top. And when you're mixing the grout for the glass block windows, you want to mix it kind of thick, because when you set those glass blocks on there, they'll start to sag. And I didn't learn that until I was doing it. Took 2 bags of grout for 2 windows because I had a lot of space to fill in, and they started to sag a little, so you want to mix it thick. This was the first time we did electrical. I had done electrical. I got my brother-in-law's help, and we ran 2 lines from our circuit breaker. We ran 1 line for all the outlets, and I think there was 8, and we ran one line for all the lights, and we did 6 can lights. Came in a box of 6, and that's what we used. We probably could have got away with 8 or maybe 10 lights down here. It's not super bright, but another thing is we ran an outlet for our TV. We knew the TV was going to go there, and we were going to mount it on the wall, so I put an outlet, one behind it, up on the wall, so you can't see all the cords, and we ran the cords behind the wall. And when you're running electrical, I learned the most you can do is you want to do 9 at the most things. So no more than 9 outlets or no more than 9 lights per breaker. So that's why we did 2 circuit breakers. And you want to plan out, okay, the wire's going to come in, it's going to go to this light, go to the switch. You want to plan out how you're going to do it before you start drilling through all your studs. We also had an existing 3-way light here, and we took that light out and tied in these 2 can lights are on that same switch, so they're on a separate breaker. We also had a fancy dimmer switch, which we never really used. We were going to use this as a movie kind of theater room, and you could dim the lights. And there's other stuff like when you're doing the electrical, you don't just plug it into the outlets. You use the pigtails, so you have a continuous loop. So if one outlet goes bad, they don't all go bad. You can isolate the outlets that's bad. Insulation was easy. We just bought a few rolls of insulation and just stapled them up. The drywall is always a pain. It goes quickly, but mudding and sanding is a big pain. But for these, we did vertical. Drywall comes in 4x8 sheets. We had 7-foot ceilings, so I just ran them vertically every 4 feet. So I have only one seam up the middle, and that seemed to work out well. Like I said, we painted the ceiling black. It was actually 4 or 5 cans, and this is only 400 square feet. This ceiling with all the joists and everything was 4 or 5 cans, and we used a big pressure sprayer. I borrowed my brother-in-law's pressure sprayer, and you get covered. You spray it, and you just got covered with the spray, but it worked great. It's way easier. I did it all in maybe an hour, just going through and spraying all these joists and all the corners and everything. And I really like the look. It makes it look a lot taller than if we had drywall or a drop ceiling. Primed and painted the walls. We did carpet from Lowe's, and the carpet, before we had a big enough area that it was free install. I think it was free install here, but we didn't get a discount, but we did use the 10% off coupon again. And another tip for that is we have stairs, and they were going to charge us 10 or 11 bucks per stair. We bought the material for the stairs, but didn't say we wanted stairs. But then when the installers came, we said, hey, if we give you 40 or 50 bucks, will you do the stairs? And they said, sure, which was benefit for us because it was cheaper, and it was benefit for them because they only got, I forget, $3 or $4. Lowe's only paid them $3 or $4 per stair. So they made more money and we saved money. So I recommend that. If you're going to do stairs, just buy the material for it, but don't do it. After we had all that done, we did the crown molding and the baseboard and the stuff around the stairs, and that really made the room look a ton better. The white crown molding against the black really made it look nicer and more finished, and it drew your eyes up. It made it look a lot taller than it was. We did, like I said, a shelf in the corner where we have all our blankets and stuff. We framed around the windows. There's some boards that go around the windows that cover up the 2x4s. We did framing around the doors. We bought a contractor's pack. We did that for the crown molding, the baseboard, and the framing around the windows. We bought contractor's pack. It's 100 feet. We had some extra, but it was about the same price. We did the ledger around the stairs. We still have to caulk and spackle some stuff, and where we dinged it, and we still have to make, the last thing was I drew up on AutoCAD, and I drew up the shelf around the stairs too on AutoCAD. I drew up a nice box shelf under these stairs here, which we haven't got to. But that's one of the last things we have on the list, is to make out of plywood. Nice little box shelf under the stairs. Right now we just have junk and toys under there. But we really like the room. We think it's added value to the house. It's kind of a playroom. We have a trampoline. We have all the video games, and we have a little swing set stuff and all his toys. And all the kids, we just send them down here to play. So it's the cheapest way to add value to your house. It wasn't that expensive. I think the carpet was near $1,000. The wood and everything, all the materials was probably another $1,000. You could do it quickly. If you really wanted to cruise through it, you could do it in a couple weeks. We would do 2 hours here, 2 hours there. We would do an 8-foot section of a wall. But if you can get big blocks of time and have somebody that's done it before and you can just cruise through it, you will come into problems where, how am I going to box out around the water meter? Am I going to go, do something fancy? One more thing, when you're doing the framing for the ceiling, we were measuring every joist height along the way and cutting it. Don't do that. They never fit. What you have to do is measure the whole wall, subtract a 1/2 inch from the shortest height you measure. So if you measure 7, 7, 7, 1, 7, 2, 7, 1, take 7 feet minus a 1/2 inch, cut all your boards the same length. Build your wall. It's a lot easier to slide the wall in, shim it, and then take the nailer and nail into the joists than it is to have to, you're banging in the walls to get them to fit. So it's much easier if your walls are too short, you can just slide them in there, especially if you have to set them on that liquid nails. Just slide them in, shim them, nail them, and ram set them in. And the biggest pain we had was having to take walls down, recut them. So take like I said, measure the whole wall, subtract a 1/2 inch from the shortest one, cut them all that length. That's all I can think of right now. We did put a baby rail, a special rail, so he couldn't run up the stairs. And that's all I could think of. I'll try to remember some more stuff, but we did learn a lot of stuff along the way and picked up some tips. I asked everyone who's done it before what they had. You definitely need a good miter saw, a good air compressor, a good framing nailer. I would suggest get a ram set instead of those Tapcon screws. That's just a pain having to drill 40 or 50 times. Just take the ram set, head it in. It's not that much more expensive. But we get a lot of use out of it. The kids all run around down here. So until I could think of something else I might add on the end, but that's it.